Thank you, Gail, for that very generous and gracious introduction. And welcome, everybody, to the Bay Area. You're just outside of my assembly district. You're in Assemblywoman Lonnie Hancock's district, a great friend and ally of ours. Let me thank you for your activism and for your dedication and commitment, for your energies, and for those of you who are from out of state, for your sales tax dollars, which we use now more than ever. I've already been asked as I was coming in, so let me clear up that I'm not related to that other Leno guy. Though, true story, when I was first taking my seat on the San Francisco County Board of Supervisors back in 1998, I got a call from Jay Leno. He called to congratulate me and to say he was glad to know that other Lenos were faring well. He was curious to know if we had any family in common, and he laughed when I suggested that I was from the Russian-Jewish side of his Italian family. But he was very, very gracious and suggested that the next time I was in Los Angeles, I should call him. He'd like me to come to the show. I asked him if he wanted me on the show. He said no. And I'm a big Letterman fan ever since. Have you been seeing what he's been doing to McKay? He's got John saying he screwed up, which we all already knew. So really, it's been a pleasure to work with the folks from NORML and Drug Policy Alliance and all the advocates who bring some simple, clear-minded thought and logic to the issue of reforming our drug policies and laws, which are in such great need of overhaul and review. And we've accomplished some good things. I had the opportunity to, again, going back to my days on the County Board of Supervisors, author local legislation that created the first medical cannabis identification card and program, which subsequently I worked with Senator John Vasconcellos in the state legislature to create a state version of our successful program in San Francisco. And I remember some of the debate around our local ordinance when we first started putting it together. Of course, we brought all the stakeholders together. First and foremost, the patient advocates, but also advocates for physicians and for law enforcement as well. We considered the three Ps, patients, physicians, and police, to make sure that all of their needs were met with our identification card program. And there was something in it for all of them, which is, I think, why it succeeded. But the naysayers were saying, no one's going to go to their county government and say, I use pot, I want a card. But we proved them wrong, and now over 11,000 San Franciscans do go to their Department of Public Health and register and get themselves a card. It's very interesting. If you go to the Department of Public Health in Civic Center in San Francisco, medical marijuana is right next to the visa and passports side. So, we're sort of a one-stop shop. And we worked hard also, of course, to put confidentiality into our program. That was the greatest concern, I think, rightfully for everybody. So, not only for patients, we keep nothing on record. It's interesting, we've got very strict sunshine laws, thank goodness, in San Francisco. And so, for example, if you brought your recommending letter from your physician to the counter at the Department of Public Health requesting a card, the idea was that you give us your form, we would photocopy it, give it back to you, and then we would destroy that form. You can't destroy any forms in county government in San Francisco, so we don't make copies only to toss them. We take your copy, we verify it, check with the physician that the physician is licensed in the state, that it is an authorized letter, and then we give it back to the patient. We keep no records whatsoever, so just in case the feds were ever to descend upon our county government, there would be no information to share with them. And then additionally, that gave comfort to the physicians because they didn't want to put their own medical licensing at risk if there were forms on file. So there's nothing that would put them in jeopardy. We want to encourage physicians, of course, to write recommending letters. And then also, the police appreciated the program because they wanted a way to differentiate. I know this may not be NORML's position, but when we're talking about medical cannabis and Prop 215, law enforcement wanted to be able to tell who is abiding by Prop 215 and who is not. So there wasn't, as I said, something in it for everybody. I wanted to talk a little bit about a particular bill I did in Sacramento. I'm often asked what's the most surprising fact of life in Sacramento as I was going from county government to state government. And my sincere and ready response is the severity of the partisanship. Now, coming from San Francisco, of course, I never worked with an elected Republican official before. It was all news to me. But truly, my Republican colleagues think that my Democratic colleagues and I are completely, absolutely, totally out of our minds. They don't know what or why we're talking about. Of course, we think the same of them. The difference being that we're right and they're wrong. Now, I say that with a smile on my face because, of course, it is our job and our responsibility as elected officials from throughout this great and diverse state of California to be able to find common ground. And when I talk about diversity, it's not just ethnicity and religion and languages that we speak, but also ideology. We represent a very diverse ideological state as well. And so it's difficult as it can be. It's our job to find some common ground, whether we're talking about public education or health care reform or protecting the environment, transportation issues, civil rights issues. Wherever we can find common ground, we must do so that we have a chance of crafting good public policy to move the state forward so that we have a better place to leave our children and grandchildren than what we have today. Not always easy. Certainly easier said than done. But I had a great partnership with one of the most far-right Republican assembly members representing an area, Irvine, the city of Irvine in Orange County, to allow California farmers to be able to grow a safe and very important crop, and that being industrial hemp. And I give great credit to my colleague, Assemblyman Chuck DeVore, for joining me on this. It wasn't easy for him. It was not that much more challenging for me, but we enjoy being the odd couple legislatively. We probably don't agree on much of anything else, but we certainly did on industrial hemp. And as a true conservative, he could not answer the question as to why we would have state law prevent California farmers from growing a safe crop, a good cash crop, and a good rotation crop, because it restores nutrients to the soil. And if they're growing cotton, bring them a greater cotton yield in their next season planting cotton. So that's not where government should be, interfering with the operations of business, and in this case, farming. And so I had a sense that he might be a good partner in this effort, and I went to his office and brought all of my information to let him know that this is a very bizarre and anomalous situation, because we're talking about safe crop that we import from dozens of trading partners across the world. From it, we legally make thousands of products representing food, clothing, shelter, paper, fuel, all biodegradable products, all renewable every 90 days, grows without pesticides, without fungicides, without insecticides, and grows with less water. Very important issue in California. And I made my case, and he says, why is it, Mark, that you're having to be making your case in this office? Why come to me? And I said, well, you know, Chuck, and he was in his first year at the time, I said, you have to be cautious. You're getting a reputation around the Capitol building as someone who's more concerned about the policy than the politics of certain issues. And he understood exactly what I was saying, because he's certain of who he is and what he's doing with regard to he doesn't want to put up with political bullshit any more than I do on the left side of the equation. And so he quickly emailed his constituent base in Orange County and told them what he was about to do. And he said the response he got was almost without exception fully supportive and embracing, and telling him, you go, Chuck. That's right. We don't need government telling our farmers what crops they can and cannot grow. So he actually scored points in Orange County. Yeah. And